So again, we're trying to do this. Card coming in, slowly rotating, and then rotating fast and becoming the logo. And one of the first days we looked at this transition part here. It's basically a lot of motion blur where it just switches over to the logo. So we'll figure it out. Okay, so I'll select the camera and I'll go to the display options, and in here I have the option of displaying resolution, and that will show us the visible part. Depending on what the resolution is, it might be difficult to see, so you can use the overscan setting. So if I use that in type 2, you can see it will shrink the view, and then you can see what is actually in the field of the camera and what is not. And that can be quite effective, so I'll just zoom out a little bit. The original animation is like 8 seconds, so I think I'll make this like 5, so 250. No, this is 10 seconds. Is too much. 8, 6, it's 150 frames. And I actually already did an animation on it, but I'll just remove that. Just go and select. So when I select the object, you can see it's all red over here because it's animated. If I then select all the names here, translate and rotate and so forth, and right click and go delete selected, it will remove the animation. So there's no animation on it now. So it will go like this. I'll grab this and I'll move this to the side. I'll just double click here to have my move tool open, and I can see right now I'm in object mode. That means I move the object according to the object's orientation. But I just want to move it in from the side, so I set it to world, and you can see this manipulator, the arrows here will jump, so now they fit the world coordinates. So just move it out here. There, that's where it starts, and then I go to animation, set key, and then I go, it should come in about 12 frames or something, 13 frames. Then I pull it in, so it's at the center, and it should stay there, and I go animate, set key. So that takes care of the moving in. Then what I need is to animate the rotation. So right now I actually keyframed everything. So I'll just get back to that in a second. So I'll have it come in and then rotate slowly to about 125, something like actually a little more, 130. And I'll just grab my rotation tool and I'll just rotate that over here and go animate set key. Okay, so we have an animation of it coming in and rotating. The only thing that is a little annoying is that it is not rotating in the beginning, right? It's just sliding in and then rotating. So I'd like to fix that. And if I open my graph editor, window, animation editor, graph editor, you can see these are the curves for all of the animation. So this green one here is actually the rotation. And just to make the rotation start from the beginning, all I need to do is get rid of this one key here. So if I grab that and delete it, you can see now the rotation just runs for the whole duration. And this is the translate, where it comes in and then it just stays on the screen. So the result is this right now, and then it just rotates slowly. And then we need to make it rotate around here. So at 150 it should be completely flat like this, maybe like there, and I go animate set key. So we get this, and then it flips around. The only thing right now is that as it flips around, it'll slow down towards the end. and I don't want that. I want it to go really fast. So again, the graph editor, and if I look at my rotation, there, you can see that this is the main rotation in the beginning, and then it does this, but I don't want it to slow down up here. I want it to go fast, so I just make this go down like, actually if I do this, it should sort of overshoot and then go fast. So let's see how that looks. So it rotates slowly and then it flips around. Maybe it's a little too much. So we can just tweak it a little bit. Just go. There we go. Try it again. Yeah, that's good. So I'm happy with that. That is our main animation for the card, and then I need to create the logo. But before I do anything, I want to lock my camera so that I can always return to this point where it's in the center. So I select my camera, and then I go animate set key, and that keyframes my camera so that if I do stuff like moving around and I need to pop back, I can just update the timeline and it pops back to my real time. As for the logo, I can either use the logo I supplied here as an EPS file, but I'd rather just write something myself. So I go to the create menu, text, options, and in here I can write, so let me just go with this, and I'm using the same font and I'm using bevel. So you can choose any font, but you have to note that some fonts the bevel option will not work, it will break for some reason. Okay, so I need to figure out where I put my text now. It's not that one, it's not that one, it's not that one. Where did I put it? Was it that one? No? Or maybe it was. I'll try again. Create, text, options, bevel. Should work. It does not work. So maybe this font is actually bad. Let's just see what happens if I do this. Yeah, okay. So there's something with the font being bad. As I said, that sometimes happens. It can also be that I have two big parameters here. So I'll just turn off the bevel first, and then I'll go apply. And no, it doesn't work. So I need to change the font to something else. Let's just try. This one is kind of nice. I'll take this one. Okay, and then go apply, and there we go. So you can see now I got my text in here. Close this. To go. So this is my text object. I can just move it to the side. Oops. Up there. Turn on shading, so you can see that this is what it looks like right now. You can see my my construction history over here is a little funny. It has something called inner or outer style curve and inner style curve and text for bevel, and then it has something called bevel plus, and then a poly planar projection. That's all the things that are done when we create a text like this, and I can change the settings for each of these. So what I'll do is I'll go to my attribute editor, because that's a little easier for something like this. Close this down, and you can see the poly planar projection essentially just creates a texture map for it, or the UV layout. So it does this. You can discuss whether this is good, but it does that. The bevel plus actually creates the text from a text, which is this text here. So if I change that, you can see it updates the text. and it supplies both the font and the text. Bevel Plus does all the extruding and beveling of the object. So you can see now I beveled it. And then the style of the bevel is done by controlling these outer and inner style curves. So if I just grab this one and go straight out, yes, and then I want the other one to be straight out as well. I think that should be fine. Oh, actually, this, you can see this one is not good. So I need to fix that one. So it has to be straight out. There you go. So they all look fairly good now. And then I'll change the bevel because it's a little bit wide. So I'll just turn this down to maybe 0.05, something like that. So the result is this. And that's fine. That's actually what I want. Then another thing, when I create a text object like this, my pivot point is actually at the starting point of the line of text. And I want to rotate it like the credit card. So what I do is I'll center the pivot, and essentially it's just selecting the object, going to the modify menu and go center pivot, and it will pop it to the center of the object. So now I can put this into the center of my scene. Just do this, put it in here. Should probably be around here, and then as this rotates around, this should come on. I need to turn this as well. I could of course add extra text at the end, so have this on like so, perhaps even a little bit of rotation and maybe down a little bit like so. Okay, let's just see how they do it here. So this rotates on and then it goes to the other side. Okay, so I actually have to have this flipped. So it has to be like this. So it just continues the same movement. So I'll make this a few frames longer. Just make it up to 225. Okay. And then I will keyframe my text here. Maybe even, yeah, okay. Keyframe it here. And then I'll go forward a few frames, and then I'll rotate it around so that it's right there, like here, and then just let it rotate slowly for the rest of the time. There we go. So it should look like this so far. So don't mind that both of the objects are there at the same time. So I get this, something like that. It's a little wild in the rotation, but
I kind of noticed in the commercial itself that the card actually shrinks a bit before
yes,
changing.
because they need to match it up, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, but we can fix that later in post,
Okay.
so
Okay.
it's not a big problem. I'll just take a look at the graph editor for the rotation here, so we can see that there's a couple of channels here that is doing a lot of rotation at the same time, and I actually don't want too much of the set rotation, so I'll just reduce that down, something like that, and I'll reduce this down as well. So now I should get, you can see that it sort of does the right thing. I just want this starting out fast because it's fast in the beginning. So this, so we get this animation here. It ends up being a little weird. Just need to put it like there and update the keyframe. Good. So essentially I want to render one object all the way to 150, and then another object from 150 and onwards, right? So I'll just do two sequences here. I can either I need to shade my logo here. I grab this, and then I just need to add a material for this. Just add a blend, make this a nice red color like this, and give it some specular color. This, not too much reflection, so it will render like this. That's pretty good. The card will go away. Maybe it should be more purple. There we go. Yeah, that's good. So what I'll do is I'll grab my credit card there, and then as you look at it here, you can see there's this thing called visibility. So it's actually visible all the way. So what I can do here is say 151. I set this to 0, and then I can just right click this and go set key, or key selected, and then it will simply go away in that frame. And then of course I can do the opposite with this one, that it should not be there in 149. So I set that to 0, and I go key selected. So we have this. We actually have a frame where both of them are there, and I need to get rid of one of them. Let's see. It's probably
down the card and the motion doesn't fix that.
Yes, but I'll shrink the card in After Effects later.
No,
So because it's easier to fix things there. Let's go Graph Editor. There we go. And I'll just go with the visibility thing here, and then I'll just zoom into this part here and just move these keys over one frame. So now it's gone, and now it's there. Okay. One thing I need though is that I need motion blur, because if you look at this towards the end, as it does this, it's blurring a lot. So I'll just add a little bit of motion blur. Hopefully it won't slow it down too much. So if I go to my render settings, and in the features tab, actually it's in the quality tab, there's this part called motion blur, and you can motion blur in two different ways in Mental Ray. You can do what's called no deformation or full. Since we're just using solid objects, we can use the no deformation version, because that will be faster to render. So let's just go here where it's moving a little fast, and then see how the render turns out. So you can see we have a little bit of motion blur here.
Oh yeah.
We can also turn this up so it's more pronounced. So we can motion blur by, for instance, 2 frames, or do turn this up there, and then do this one as well. That should give us a little more motion blur. Probably be a little bit slower to render. But there's more motion blur. That's fine. It's a bit noisy. I could turn up the quality level to make it less noisy, but I don't want to do that. And then the frame after that, where the text comes in, just test that one. Oh, it did something. Shapes are not equivalent, vectors not. Oh, okay. It doesn't like me. Okay. So it just doesn't like that it's turned off the frame before. So I need to do a little fix for that. So if I grab this one, and then I just move the timing thing, or the motion blur. There we go. And then we just move this over again. And let's see if that doesn't fix it. Let's try it. There we go. And then it will probably be gone in this frame anyway. Yes, it doesn't render it there anyway. So this way I have an animation of 225 frames that will become something similar to the other one. If you're thinking about the background and stuff, I'll do that in After Effects later because it's easier. So for now I'll just set this off to a render. Just check that the quality is reasonable. Yep. And just set it to 225 frames. And then I'll just close this and go render, batch render. There we go. Good. And I'll stop the recording for now.